when you look at black people in America and our struggles and our journey, we've gotten away from that, right? So to the point of like, man, I don't want to see another slave movie, or no crazy shit like that, which is like slavery is American history.
Yeah,
how we responded to slavery is our history, which is black resistance, which is developing us as a people. Because the things like who we are today, they didn't want that. Right? You're educated, I'm educated, but in reality, they didn't want us to receive a formal education. And our great-grandparents was part of that. However, they had a moral education. And as a result of that moral education, they raised their children to ultimately go on to get educated. And so members, if you think back to your great-grandmother and your grandmother and your uncles and whatever, like they had small little sayings and stuff, like all money ain't good money. I mean, they moved a certain way. Those are the values. We've gotten away from those things. So it's another part of that trickology of integrating. The more we integrate into American society, the less we become we are of ourselves, and that's been a struggle because we still learning what it means to be a black person that has African roots, and African roots is a whole nother conversation in itself. But there's a mixture of the two that have produced a certain mind state. Like when we talk about black, we don't mean in the color. We're talking about a political mind state of retracting the inferiority that has been imposed on us. Where, again, if I come here and I have a bad experience, like I'm like, fuck, Detroit is different. And where, again, if I have a bad experience at another business, would I say fuck them? No, it's part of life. That bad experiences occur, but because I can see deeply into who you are and understand, like shit happens some days, man, and have that conversation with you, like I had a bad experience. Like this is part of the relationship building. This is part of the values. Again, I value you as a brother. When I grew up, no one ever told me to value you as a brother. So as a result, it allowed me to ultimately see you and other black men as enemies, which helped me formulate a gang mentality, and I treated you as such, and you treated me as such, which has its roots in black self-hatred. And these seeds are still being permeated through our community and in our households that we have to cut out. And this goes to your point around wealth. We are, as a people, we rarely have had no wealth. I mean, our bodies was the wealth. Right, so that's where you see guys, when the little homies they spend over $200,000 on a fucking car. Yeah, don't even own the house. Yeah, when you look at like the tragedy in the hip hop game today, every artist has over, trying to get over $1 million worth of jewelry or more. Right, for what? What value does that really have? And even looking at Jay-Z, right? I mean, Jay-Z is able to look how he looks now because he's in a wealth bracket. What can you say to me? When we go to Jay and say, what do you have to say? I mean, I don't even know if this guy has formal education, but it doesn't matter because his wealth puts him in a position.
What's funny, it was that meme going around last year where it said, would you take $400,000 or a dinner with Jay-Z? And I was like, I didn't even, like, I can't even quantify this in my mind because in my mind, I know this is back to, like, I already hear Baba Malik saying you want a gentler form of capitalism echoing as I say this, like, the wealth of the dollar is the liquidity of the dollar. The liquidity means that I can transfer a dollar and quantify value with it. A meeting with Jay-Z, unless I get to curate that in a certain way where I say, all right, Jay-Z, if I have this 1 hour conversation with you, can I go live on Zoom and maybe sell that to other people? And then from that Zoom, now I can leverage that for more opportunities and things like that. Like it's going to be harder to liquefy a conversation with Jay-Z. But as you speak about it, even the only reason that was a premise in the discussion was because the idea of Jay-Z has something paramount importance to tell me just based on the perceived wealth that I believe he has acquired in life.
And who fed us that though, right? When we look at white communities, and I'm cautioning what I say and how I say this, but their wealth is just balanced out. It's just balanced out across the board. Where again, our wealth is Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jordan. You know, a few of us, because it's not many of us that have accumulated a lot of wealth. Right, and so they tell you, like, Curry, you can be the next Michael Jordan, or you can be the next Oprah Winfrey, and but we're basing it upon wealth, but not realizing what does it really take, not from an education or character or commitment, but assimilation aspect to
be
get
in that position. And what you spoke, even with that, I want to go back to, you spoke to moral education. What's a moral education?
I think a moral education, again, is centered around the values, like authentically knowing who we are, authentically knowing, hey, I don't have a formal education. I can't read or write. But however, morally, I'm accountable to my family. Morally, as a man or as a woman, as a child, I'm accountable to my community. To be, again, the word you used earlier, having a good character. But a good character comes out of having principles, having values, having a philosophy of life that goes beyond yourself, to be able to be a good contributor, starting in your home and in your community. And they're recycling each other, that becomes cornerstones and instrumental. So again, I mean, like if any of us go back and examine our life, our history and our family, I'm pretty sure we can find somebody who had that moral education. Like, you trying to, like, they went out, they worked every day of their life. They came home, they cleaned, they did everything, but if you put a book in front of them, they couldn't read. They didn't allow that to stop them from, I'm still a human being. I still have other Same thing when we think about a person with a disability, right? So what happens? If they can't see, the hearing strengthens. You know, other things strengthens on their body. Same thing. So again, because they didn't have the formal education, morally, they grew greater in a sense of they became beacons of our community because of the racism that existed that prevented them from succeeding. They found ways how to succeed despite that.